Hello everyone, my name is Andy. Today we are looking at Duke versus UNC in the Collegiate Chess League. Currently watching Arya, a newcomer in Team A, and she decided to go with a French exchange, this weird knight on b4 kicked away, and now moving knight to c2. Looks like a pretty standard position, black with some forward development of the bishop, but white can easily bring the bishop out to g5. Looking pretty solid here. Let's check in on the others. Let's look at... Oh, no one else is really playing yet. One of the matches between Ben and the other guy looks like it got aborted. Yeah. So I guess we'll stick with Arya for now. Position looks, again, pretty equal, very symmetric pawn structure. Arya likes to go with this f4 against me. Guess she's not that crazy in the real CCL. But I don't know, looking at this position, I'm not an e4 player. I don't really know how to play these types of positions. I mean, immediately wanting to sort of untangle these knights. On one hand, black's bishops do look a little better. They're a bit more active, but I don't know, still pretty equal out of the opening. No other games have started. Not too sure why, but yeah. It's been a while since I've been streaming, taking a break, but, you know, good to get back into it. Playoffs are soon. And, yeah, the white bishop here looking a little bit out of squares. Potentially some bishop f7 here, and Arya has to deal with some g5 push. Probably going to go with the f4 advance. That knight moving in very slow motion. Looks like my computer is not good enough to stream and watch chess at the same time. I'm going to sue Apple. Yeah. Positionally, I do like black better here. g4 is a pretty big concession, weakening the king side. But I guess the bishop will just drop back to g3. Other bishop can go to g2. Knight can come out. Still relatively solid, nothing too crazy going on. Looking at Alex versus Navon. Navon actually came to Duke for one of the tournaments. Tartakower Karakhan. This is a classic Luke play being echoed by UNC. Bishop's coming out, bishop coming to g4. A very standard position. Alex probably has seen this a million times. This knight pin is a little awkward since the bishop has already been developed to d3. But, I mean, just rook e1 and bishop e2. And it should be pretty solid. Maybe some h3 action can come in. But, yeah, overall solid from Alex. Alex likes to go with some weird openings. Last time he played the beefeater opening. Bit odd there. Looks like Ben has started playing. Let's see how he's doing. Rui Lopez, Morphe defense with the b5. Let's stay here for a little minute. Ben should be able to clean out this. He's about 150 rating points higher. Bishop c5. And now white takes on e5, saying, okay, I'm going to get the fork on d4, winning something. But this is just standard theory. Though theory that I don't know. Ben taking, I think, here. He's very low on time compared to his opponent. Let's see how he responds to this knight sacrifice, temporary sacrifice. He has to do some response though. F7 is weak. So yeah, let's see how he deals with this. I mean, that looks like the most obvious move, and then after d4, the knight has to reroute, or simply the bishop can take. Bishop takes, queen takes, knight c6, and then it's just a position. Arya's position has gotten a bit complicated. Let's see how he got here. F4 did come in, Arya classic. F5 preventing white from playing F5, that's probably smart. G5 now, queen's coming in, king side might get locked up. There is this very interesting exchange sack that Arya decided not to go for, likely because after e takes this, there's a lot of pressure on the f4 pawn, and Arya's king is a bit weak and exposed. So just staying solid with h5, very sensible that way. h6, white can just take with the h pawn and not have to open up the f file. Now that black brings another rook to the e file, doubling up, there is some additional pressure. And Arya says, okay, I'm just going to take, because your rook is no longer pressuring the f pawn. And, I mean, surely f takes e is the idea behind the exchange sack, but potentially the rook can take, but then it just feels like you sort of did the exchange sack for nothing. Maybe you could argue that it's a closed position, so the knight is better, but yeah, there we go, taking with the f pawn in slow motion, of course. Queen to e3, blockading, and saying, okay, I'm going to bring both my rooks to the f file and protect this f pawn. The knight is coming to e6, however. It's a little bit complicated, but any captures in the f pawn will just lead to a pin on the f file. So Arya can probably just play rook f2, rook af1, and continuing piling up. So I don't think black can take that pawn right now. Still no game from the pin variation. I don't know if my chess.com is broken or something, but yeah. Well, I don't see your game. Okay, so I just texted the pin variation, and he says he started. I don't see him. Let me try and refollow him. Oh, and there he is, playing against Novice Noah, chess.com. Terrible user interface, as always. Let's see how he's been doing. Arya's position looks pretty solid for her. She's up in exchange. Okay, there seems to be a King's Indian attack, starting with knight f3, knight f6, g3. Not really a King's Indian attack, just like sort of normal position. I've deemed this defense the research triangle defense, since obviously Duke is in the research triangle with this pyramid here. But chess.com doesn't know my opening theory. e4, bishop d6, c4 takes, and there has to be some carefulness on this e5 square. It's tender, but Luca is that well defended. And yeah, position is hella boring, just like all positions coming out of knight f3. Okay, I don't want to watch this anymore. I want to go back to Arya's game. Arya up in exchange, now pushing on the king side, going for some sort of expansion. Stockfish is not liking white as much as in its like a typical exchange sack situation, but doesn't hate white. Arya still has some things to prove. The position is very closed, so Arya does have to be careful. There's some tension in the center here. Stockfish really hating queen g3. Likely because that's simply just dropping a pawn. Seems like on d4. And if after this knight comes in, these two connected pass pawns in the center look very daunting for white. Black not opting to take for an unknown reason. And Stockfish saying, I don't give a fuck anymore. The exchange stack works. Or the exchange stack didn't work. And Arya saying, okay, I'm going to start piling up on the king side. Finally releasing some tension in the center. Knight coming to b5. And Arya trading off a pair of bishops. But first defending the pawn. And there could be some explosion here on the king side. With g6 coming in, yeah. Though black is able to lock it up for now, we can simply shift over to the f file and start pushing the f pawn. This looks, to me, pretty good for Arya. Though, still unclear according to the engine, but for a human, I would definitely prefer white. Oh, I didn't even see that pawn is hanging. That's suspicious. What? Okay. Yeah, this is pretty crazy. And yeah, there was a mate there. If queen takes g5, if you take, there was a rook f8 mate. That was nasty. Right here, just queen takes g5, and you can't do anything about this mate. Arya with a significant time advantage, however, and up in exchange. Let's see if she can convert, simply trying to trade off the queens, saying that, okay, yes, you have a knight and two pawns, but you don't have any time left. Now, if my internet connection was good, if Arya's internet connection is this bad, then she's probably going to lose too, but let's see how my internet can do here. This move, some time scramble, this pawn is moving forward. It's a little bit dangerous. King to d6, saying, oh, if you take, I'm going to go e2. How do you defend against this? Wow. Threatening mate here. King here and saying, oh, is this a draw by repetition? Oh, what the hell? Is this a pawn fast enough? Stockfish says no. Knight can come to the rescue and... oh no! Oh no! Arya, with a very sad loss, was completely winning, had a mate threat in the past, and now black is just up a queen. And that's unfortunate for white. Alex losing to Demand, the NM. Let's move on to Ben's game. Ben with a significant time advantage and a significant position advantage. Should be able to clean this out pretty nicely. I mean, he's up like a million pawns. That's just going to be ending. And now looking at the last game, Noah versus Luke. That's funny. Luke has this doubling on the D file. White has these pawns on the B file that are doubled in a bad way. And yeah, material is equal, but position is confusing. A pair of rooks gets traded. There could be some rook a8 action that doesn't happen. White probably just trying to get into an endgame, but I mean, he doesn't know Luke. Luke is a beast at endgames, so I don't think that's a good idea for White. Yeah, I mean, you could have taken on d1 and taken on e5, but to be honest, I don't really know why you didn't do that. Potentially arguing that getting a queen into the game is better than taking a free pawn. I don't know. Because the queen on c7 was guarding all the entry squares. Maybe there was some queen d6 thing. No, no. It doesn't guard the entry squares. Because after queen d8, you take on b6. So, never mind. Rook to f1. I mean, that's just asking for like rook d2. But no, starting with a solid move, c5, protecting the knight and the rook. h4. And there's the rook d2. Targeting the pawn on h6, I mean, king g7, king h7 makes a lot of sense to me. But also just rook takes b2 and arguing that I'm just going to take on b3. Now Luke does have to watch his time, only having 16 seconds versus Noah having 1 minute 40. I think if Luke can get the queens off here, it's probably game over for white, given his activity. And yeah, now the b2 pawn seems free. Oh my goodness, the knight is coming in. Looking at knight to e3 next. That's disgusting behavior. The pawn on f2 is pinned. And with 14 seconds, maybe Noah's best shot is to try and flag him, but there's 2-second increments, so I don't know how good that's going to work for him. That's ridiculous. And yeah, knight e3, and that's just, and then f2 is still in pressure, rook takes b2, queen take, I mean, everything it feels winning. b3 pawn is losing, that's the problem, and then e5 is, everything is hanging. His queen is tied to the f2 pawn. I mean, this could just be resigned, honestly. Very clean finish by Luke here. Bishop e2, that's very depressing. I mean, I don't know why I didn't just play queen h4 there. That would have just been mate in 2, but Luke opting for rook f3. I mean, this is just equally bad. There's just rook f2. And I guess not. Potentially worried about time disadvantage here. I mean, Luke does only have 5 seconds left. But oh my goodness. White's queen coming in. Is this just a perpetual? This is crazy. What can Luke do? Oh my goodness. Novice Noah coming out with a crazy perpetual at the end of the game. Oh my god. He had a mate in 2, I thought. Oh my goodness. Draw. Oh my god. Throws from both Arya and Luke in the first round here against UNC. But that's alright. It's just the first round. Then hopefully I haven't looked, but if he threw this, that would be horrible. Ben taking the dub, as expected from his position. So 1.5, 2.5. Right now, UNC taking the lead in the first half, or the first matchup. Oh, that was a roller coaster. I mean, just from this game, like. I mean, king h2, is there not just queen h4? And then it's queen h3, queen h3, and then that's just mate in 2. But after rook f3 and the queen there's also rook to f2 here, another way to win, pinning the queen. But after queen here, king here, there are actually no more checks, and if you move the rook, then there's a perpetual. So that was nasty. That was very nasty. Maybe just like even a queen g5 is better there. Just getting the queens off the board. But that's alright. Still many games to go. Let's see. Maybe the games to start. I think chess.com is being bad. Let me just try and. Okay, looks like we got some new games going on. Luke playing the guy who Ben just decimated in a Neo Grunfeld, starting off with d4. It literally just is a Grunfeld, but white not going for any. Wait, what? No, not a Grunfeld. g3 is like a Catalan idea, and then get this position where this b pawn versus c pawn. This bishop is again pretty flimsy. To be honest, I don't really know how to deal with these bishops on f4 when he got the fianchetto. But Luke with a small time advantage at the opening, always helpful. Let's see how he deals with this knight for bishop attack. Can't go to d2 because that drops the d4 pawn. Maybe he's just gonna let it slide, but I don't know. Not the best. I mean, you don't want to go out to c1 and to e3 looks. I don't know, it looks a little sad to me. Blocking the e2 pawn, but nothing bad. Preventing c5, maybe. Not preventing c5. You can't even, or you can take on e5, I guess. But you have to be worried about this d4 push. There's also this e4 push if you don't take on e5, really constricting white's position. Luke's saying, I don't give a fuck. Rook coming to c1, we're going to go knight a4, knight c5. Exploit the lack of a b pawn here. But I don't know if Luke has time. I mean, there's a lot of pressure here in the center. Let's check on him later. Let's go to Alex Tom, Beastly Bishops. See how he's doing. He's playing a Knight or Sicilian with e5 in. And this h5 advance, trying to stop g4. I heard this is a modern way to play the Sicilian. I'm not too sure. I avoid e4 at all costs. But we have the queenside castle for black, the hopefully soon kingside castle for white, unless for black, unless black wants to argue that the king is safer in the center. Bishop h3, a little bit annoying, honestly, for black, because this rook, it can't go to c7, because then the protection on the knight disappears. So you really have to either go to c4 or abandon the c-file, which is what Alex does. But I guess the rook on a8 has some utility trying to get the a pawn rolling. There's knight to c4. Ideas next. This looks like a really nice spot for the knight. But potentially there's some, knight a5 action trying to get into here. White just says, I don't want your knight infiltrating, I'm just going to get rid of it and now play knight a5 going for knight c6. That is looking a little bit squished for Alex Tom. I don't even know how to prevent this. This knight has to take 1, 2, 3 steps to even take it, and maybe what's going to happen is if the knight goes to d7, White's just going to take it and say, okay, your king is undeveloped, my knight is a beautiful outpost on c6. And what are you going to do? Now when the knight comes to this bishop is just so sad. It's just blocked by the d6 pawn. Alex Tom really having some problems navigating this knight or Sicilian. Supposed to be getting an attack here on the king side, or on the queen side, sorry. But this knight on c6 is just really annoying. Maybe there's going to be some ideas of I can't even go rook c8. You can't go to any of these squares with your major pieces because of the bishop and knight combination. This is pretty beautiful play by this man from the University of North Carolina. I don't know about that move. Let me try and... I feel like you're taking, and then if bishop takes, oh, idea being if you take with the knight, you're never a knight becomes a permanent outpost. Oh, and now the g file is open. Alex probably hoping for an e pawn take and then some knight e4 shenanigans. That's what I was hoping for at least. But yeah, not looking too great for Alex. Stockfish still saying it's okay. You know, material's equal and you're holding. But at the end of the day, if anyone's better, it's definitely white. E4 is a very interesting move. I actually like it a lot. Because the f3 pawn is tied to the bishop, so you can't take that. And furthermore, I'm just going to take on f3, and after bishop moves, maybe I'm going knight d7. Rook e8. Very sensible, pinning that pawn. Maybe some bishop f8. Or some bishop d8 thing to unpin. Also knight g4. I was just thinking that maybe bishop h4 getting active. Stockfish disapproving. But this e pawn is passed, and the promotion square is guarded. Lots of activity here, probably looking for some e3 in the future, and yeah, no rook e3 because of bishop g5. So yeah, looking pretty good. Rook e2, very, very sensible. E3 is a push here. Though it's very difficult to dislodge the piece from the e2 square. Though the bishop can lodge itself on f2, making this a permanent threat. Or a permanent annoyance, rather. Let's see how other people are doing. Let's look at Ben versus Noah, who swindled his way to a draw against Luke. Ben should theoretically easily win against him, but the position is equal material. Black does have an isolated queen's pawn. White's bishop has better future prospects. Black's bishop sort of tied to defending this isolated queen's pawn. Knight's coming here, f4. The knight can be a little annoying. Maybe you have to be a little bit careful about forks, but I'm just looking at h3, g4, f5. I just want to start pushing my pawns. No queens left. Maybe some b5 action will happen for black. Arya versus Navan has been aborted. Not exactly sure what's going on there. It's probably Naveen, actually. I thought that was his name. g6. Probably trying to prevent the exact thing I was talking about. Also preventing the bishop from x-raying here, but I guess it's not really prevented. h3. I guess maybe. Actually, the knight here doesn't really. I guess it's coming to c4. That's a classic 1700 play. Oh, he goes for it. Maybe it's an NM play, actually. Yep, 93. I wonder if... There's no way... Ooh, I wonder if Ben is going to try and trap the knight by going something like b3. Then after b3, playing g4. No, he's just going for this straight up. And after b3, knight a3. Probably just bishop d3 and the knight. It's not looking too cozy. Doesn't have many squares. The bishop dominated the knight. And yeah, this all happens. Still a pretty complicated position. Could go either way, but Ben up on time, always helpful. Okay, 95 makes way more sense than 93. Going for knight c6. Trying to say, okay, I'm going to get the rook to move, and then I can push my pawn and my bishop to be more free. Not too many ways to stop that, unfortunately. And yeah, knight e2 is the thing I was maybe thinking of, and I just backing up the rook. But the pawn can be pushed. And that happens. Bishop here trying to dislodge the knight. Saying, okay, I'm going to take. And now, wow. Bishop e4. This pawn is temporarily undefended. King f3 makes a lot of sense. And maybe after f5, he just en passant takes, and then, okay, f6. Okay, there's a lot of, there's also just rook takes. After takes. I think that works. Takes. I'm trying to be Hikaru, but I don't have the facilities. Okay. Black keeping it simple. White keeping it simple. Just taking it on f6 and then taking on e5. No more Zwischenzugs on e5. Bishop takes, king takes. And now arguing after rook here. How about we just king back? Is black gonna attempt the pin? Argue it's a draw. It's definitely not a draw, but maybe that's what I would do. Now black down a pawn in the endgame. Lost his isolated queen pawn. The king has to come back, and if he checks, maybe he's going to king d3. Takes. Here, king e4. I don't really know. I guess black is opposition. Is that going to happen? Takes. No, knight to b4. And the pin is released. I'm looking at some a3 here. Maybe there's some rook c6 first? And then after king b5, there's no entry. Now, there's a takes, and then after takes, you can take here. My internet continuing to disconnect me, but that's okay. Just have to refresh the page. Let's see what's happened after the refresh. Chess.com taking forever to load. Ooh. And at the end of the position, the rook, black's rook has been able to take the pawns on the king side, whereas white has pawns on the queen side. Ben now very low on time. No longer a simple endgame to play. Ben trying to push his a pawn as fast as possible. There's rook g5, probably some king b6. After here, the b pawn is falling. But wait, what are you doing against? Wait, why not just a7? Everything's winning here, but yeah, this is killer. You can even take on a. Okay. Oh! That's clean. The queen on a8 guards the promotion square. That's going to be resilience. Great endgame technique by Ben. A little bit sketchy in the middle there, but was able to finish it out nicely. So that's a win from Ben. Ben going 2 out of 2 so far. Let's see what other games have finished. I know Alex has lost. Luke drawing another game against the guy who Ben beat. Let's watch Naveen versus Arya. What is going on in this position? Arya's game's crazy. White has the F file. Black has the G file. Wait. Oh. I was like, is that not just mate? Okay. So Stockfish saying that Arya is doing better, but Arya was doing better last time and she threw, so I don't know. I mean, I would probably throw this position. You are still playing at 2400 after all. It looks like White was doing much better at some point. Just really confused here. Now White on the defense. There's rook g3 ideas going for that type of move. There's also e6 ideas, b5 ideas. Whoa. Sacrificing a knight. For what purpose? Now there's some c6, but potentially here. That cannot be good. Oh, she's trying to hide, but I mean, there's just rook f8 stuff, no? Rook f8. Oh my goodness, what? The white rook on the g8 has no utility because of queen c8. Queen coming to c6, queen taking at a6. There's queen c7 threatened. And, I mean, at the end of the day, White's just up a knight. So I don't know how to really deal with this. Both on low time, but obviously White easier to play, but there's no pawns left on the board. But there goes the rook. Black now completely winning. I mean, I would just try and take on b2, but White just in a time scramble. Can Arya take down UNC's top board? Still very, very tight game. If she can do this, then Duke is right back in the action, 4-4. But if it's a draw, then it's going to be... No, if it's a draw, it'll be 4-4. She just has to not lose. Perhaps just going for checks, but getting the rook into the game more. Can Arya find a way to checkmate this king with very little time left on the board? Stockfish saying mate in 6, but easier said than done, of course. The rook on the h5 preventing the king from getting back. There's rook here ideas. I mean, now that the rook and the queen are coordinating, this just looks a lot easier. I would have gone queen g3. Because now... I mean... She's lost the mate. And I don't see many more checks. Arya having to go back a step. Oh, there's rook d2, rook d7, there we go. That's the game. That clean finish, and now she just has to not play king take. There was a fork there, and now after just queen b2, taking on h3 and then sacking for the pawn. But the time, wait. Are you serious? What? No. 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 So close. Oh my goodness. Luke gets another draw. Ben gets another win. Alex with a loss. 3-5 now. Still very comebackable, but that was very depressing. I mean, just like queen to g2, taking on h3, then sacking the queen for the knight. I mean, could be some internet connection issues. Oh my goodness. Oh no. No. Good work on Arya getting herself into a completely winning position against Anna, though. Someone who is 480 points higher than her. That's very impressive. But unfortunate that it had to end that way. I was really hoping it was my computer lagging, but potentially all of chess.com was lagging. That's sad. Oh, Ben doing very well. Luke getting 2 draws. Alex and Arya still without points. But plenty of time to come back. On paper, UNC much higher rated than Duke. I should get some averages in here. Let me pull out my calculator. The Duke average rating being being 21-31, whereas the UNC average rating being 22-92, so an overall about 150 point higher rating advantage for UNC. But it's because Duke's top board Barnabas is taking vacation, not playing chess. But that's all good. Yeah, let's see if any other games have started. Not showing up on my end, but again, my computer is not the brightest. Let's see if I can... Oh, Noah and Alex starting their match. And another Fianchetto game. Lots of Fianchettos. Alex going for the f5. We love to see craziness coming from Alex Tong. And yeah, it's just a sort of interesting position. E4 is in, E5 is probably coming in as well in about 5 seconds. I guess it does show that UNC's 2400 is not unbeatable, which is pretty good. Hopefully that game with Arya kind of messed up his mind, but probably messed up Arya's mind more, to be honest. Bishop e3. A very classic developing move. White slightly ahead in developments because of Black's odd f5 play. There's also some weird queen d5 check ideas. Maybe it'd be better for Alex to just hang on to h8 as soon as possible. But White simply probably going for this bishop h6 common idea, but probably not yet. Just getting the rooks into the game. Very classic. Let's look at how other people are doing. Arya going for a Caro. I didn't know she played the Caro. And going for an advanced Caro, then bishop f5, h4. Tall variation, very sharp line. But Arya seems to know how to navigate this. She's taking on h4. I don't know if that was a oversight by White or if this is theory. I play the Caro, but I go c5, so I don't have to worry about this horrendous h4 attack. I like to play very solidly in the opening. White taking a lot of time here. Probably shell-shocked, flabbergasted by this knight h4, winning a pawn. Though despite the lost pawn, white is in a huge development advantage. Black is king still in the center, and to be honest, I don't even know where the king wants to go. I mean, maybe the king will just go to f8. Probably not. Alright, let's move on. Let's look at... Oh! There's a take, and then surely just bishop takes. I don't know what's taking Arya so long. And then after takes, the rook coming to the c file. The queen is tied down to the bishop on h4 currently. Potentially there's some knight h4, queen h4, rook c7 ideas. So I would just bring the bishop back, probably all the way to e7, just to get out of that. Maybe start pushing h4. And, you know, the rooks are getting doubled on the c file. This is the cost of a pawn. Black has to get put into a slightly more cramped position. Though there's always castles, and then you can start trading rooks on the c8 square. So you have rook c2, and now probably just castles, or maybe like queen b6 or something, or maybe even rook c1 immediately. This makes a lot more sense. Now there can't be two rooks on the c file, though there can still be a queen rook battery, which can be equally annoying after getting to the c7 square. Honestly, black's b and a pawns are a little flimsy here, but she won the h4 pawn, so that's just how that is. Okay, let's move on to Ben's game. I want to watch some wins from Duke here. Ben playing a Slav exchange. Exchange Slav. Queen d3, classic if bishop f5. Captures, queen takes, queen a3. This looks like a Bobby Fischer thing. Probably looking for some like bishop in, but after bishop d2, knight e4, rook c8, and now h5. The bishop can't come in because of the knight, and the bishop is a little bit cramped here. I mean, obviously h4 is threatened. There's h4 ideas, but then, I mean, maybe that's okay. But I would probably just be really sad since there's always knight takes g3. And white's pawn structure is questioned. And especially after knight takes g3, pawn takes g4. And this works the same way. These pawns are just sad. And then the e3 pawn is weak too. So, I don't know, Ben having some trouble with up-in knights. Though I guess Ben is lower rated. It is an upward climb. It is an uphill climb. Let's see how he handles this. I mean, he knows that this knight is leaving, so maybe the best option would just be to go to g5. That's a terrible idea, because after takes takes the knight's trapped. Let's not go to g5. Let's go to maybe e5. For takes takes, there's always knight d3, but I mean, this is potentially okay. Then there's like knight e4 ideas, but opting to go knight h2, which, I mean, this knight just cannot get out. This is just horrible. This is horrible. This is horrible. Yeah, this is just depressing. Alex versus Noah. Alex, severe time deficit. Also severe position deficit. I mean, where did the pawns go on the king side? We left here, and white was able to push f4, and it just resigns. Oh, there's just a fork. Oh my goodness. Alex not having the best day. I don't even want to. That's just depressing. Arya. Position has equal material. Both kings exposed. This is tending towards drawish position. Let's see how we got here. Last I checked, I was a pawn, but was black able to take advantage of the additional pawn? I don't get it. Oh, I get it. He was. This is a tactic that already missed. Because if queen takes, it's check, and the bishop falls. So there's the lost pawn. And after the lost pawn, now the knight is coming in to attack on the queen side. But I mean, I feel like just queen b3, and I feel like Arya is the one getting asked. Actually, no, because there's queen to d2 check if the queen moves out of the way. So how are you defending this pawn? Maybe you're not. You're just saying, oh, if you take, I'm just gonna go queen b5. That's very possible. Or b3. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, this game looking still a little bit complicated, but black up on time, which is always positive. Let's look at a different game now. Maybe she's just gonna repeat moves. Luke versus Naveen. This so many pawns. I have a single pawn been exchanged. This looks so where we had this bishop b2, bishop g2 opening. Knight e5 takes, knight e8, rook c1, e4, declining the pawn trade, f4, so if I connect 4. Hole on b4. Hole on g4, but there's no knight to take advantage of it. g5, queen coming into the game. It's just a fork being hung. Though, one could argue that a knight is actually better than a rook. Though there's just also a free bishop. There's also the free bishop. And the fork, now again. Luke not preventing the refork of his pieces. But Naveen saying, I don't need that fork. Knight to h2. Luke definitely trying to get some attack going here with knight g4 ideas. And yeah, even though Stockfish really likes black, I mean white is asking the questions and the knight is coming in. Bishop on g7 probably saying, oh, I'm just going to trade off your knight. But I mean, we're going to have a lot of pawns here. Luke saying, I don't care about my dark square bishop. I don't care about my rooks. All I care about is mating your king. Bishop g6. And now after knight here, black is just trying to run, giving up an exchange. But Luke obviously not interested. Is the knight trapped? No, it can go to b4. So at the end of the day, however, if Luke is unable to checkmate the king, then black simply just has 2 pieces for the rook. And in this closed position, I would honestly take the pieces. White does have 2 extra pawns. Black hasn't taken a single one of white's pawns yet. But I don't know, this pawn on d3 is a nightmare. Luke also completely low on time. It's not looking too great for the Duke team here. Knight to c2, rook to d2. Maybe it's not even a blunder. I was saying maybe Luke will like take on c2 and then like take the queen. But at the end of the day, you're promoting to a new queen, so like, because if rook takes, yeah, it's just not even. Oh, now the queen is coming into the game. Queen coming back to h2, probably trying to lodge the king here, but pressure here. On here, I think there's taking on e4 now. Oh! That's killer. That's killer. Okay. Okay, so both Luke and Alex losing. Let's check in on Arya. Arya is black. I had to get oriented. The white king confused me. Position is sort of liquidating down to a draw, though Stockfish does prefer white, obviously because of the active king. Now there's going to be, if black can avoid the trade of queens, then it's still okay, but if the trade of queens is happening, then white's simply winning the king pawn endgame. The good news for black is, however, the lack of time for white. That is just devastating. That's devastating. Another tactic unseen by Arya is leading to a severe problem. She dropped a pawn, and now there's two passed pawns. At least they're doubled. But white also getting back some time on the clock. Ben being able to pick up a win against Up and Lights, despite, when I last checked, doing terribly. Let's see what happened here. He was able to win an exchange. So after the f4 pawn, he was able to undouble. And then the rook came on to e6. But for the sacrifice of a pawn, white was able to get an active rook. The knight coming to f5. And, the knight fork. And after the knight fork, that's just games. Alright, so we got probably a 3-1 victory for UNC, putting them up to 8. Yeah, Arya is completely doomed. Yeah. So that secures UNC at least a draw. If Duke can win every single game, then they still have a chance in the sudden death. But ultimately, the rating differential is just killing Duke here. I think that's the big story. Oh, 8-4 currently. Oh, tough game for the Duke A team. Losing against UNC. How dare they? Queen finish after queen takes queen e2. Takes and pawn moves. The active king was too much. Yeah, the active king was too much. Oh. Let's see when the next round starts. My heart rate is up and I'm not even playing. I wonder if UNC thinks they won and they've stopped playing. That would be hilarious. but I doubt that's the case. Probably just some lag time. And there are the games starting. It looks like UNC is probably coordinating. Oh, the games have started much before. Computer is just too slow to catch up. Alright, let's take a look at Luke's game first. Another Caro-Kann going for c5 and then c4 immediately. This is crazy gameplay. But just nice c3, bishop g4 takes. Trade of queens. And perhaps this knight is trapped. If this knight is trapped, then it's good for black. But if white can unearth the knight, then white's just up in exchange. Might be difficult to get to this knight though, because there's always bishop f4, and the rook can come in here. I mean, the key is just to go down to the c7 square. Yeah, and this does happen, and the knight can now escape, and black is completely underdeveloped. That's a sad loss for Luke. In terms of Arya's game, started off as an f4. Arya going with the f4 strategy. She's beating me like 5 times with this strategy. I hate her for it. Just kidding. Very normal looking f4 position. There's some worrying open king, so I would move the king to h1. Why can she not take the bishop? What? Am I missing something? Is this not just a free bishop? Okay, the game goes on like nothing happened. And white's king is definitely more exposed than black's king, but I don't know how to take advantage of it. White looking pretty solid here. Defense and attack. Going for this, bringing the king out to the open file. Maybe some queen f6, rook f8, also looking good. Honestly, I might run this way. But no, king g2. Just protecting all the squares. This square looking a little bit tender, but no real way to take advantage of it just yet. Queen c1 looking for rook f1. Now I'm wondering if there's just check. No, you can go to 8. I thought you had to go somewhere else. There's also this check. I mean, this is a mate threat, so you really have to deal with this. There are 2 methods. Rook e1 looks pretty solid, but then rook here, that does not look solid. I kind of want to just go here. Here, and then after king here. Wait, how are we defending this? Does king h3 work? I don't see the move. Let me think. There's also obvious moves. There's also like moves like bishop f5. Maybe white should just do that. She is up a pawn, and black's king is very exposed. That could be a good shout. Arya taking a lot of time here. For good reason. It is mate e1. She does go with queen to e6 initially. And what is her follow-up after? Oh! Maybe now her follow-up is bishop. Okay. Not even that. Going for king h3. Stockfish hating the move. I mean, maybe the best move here is just bishop here, saying that I'm threatening to take, maybe. After dealing with the mate threat, obviously. King h3. Now, what can black do to take advantage? White obviously threatening to take a knight. So there's potentially queen f1 ideas. Queen f1, king to h6. You could get the queens off. And taking with knight. But then after rook here, or just like rook here or something, like the pawns are, I don't really know. It's unclear. Queen f1, queen f6 looks like something I would do. Is there better? Probably. The queen is defending this very nicely. So you can't do anything like rook to f2, because you can simply take it and it still defends the rook. Though rook, yeah, there was something there I missed it, black missed it as well. That protects the knight. Is there a problem with bishop takes? To be frank, I don't see the problem. I think there's a lot of variations here that are just completely going over my head. Yeah, because if takes... And what are you doing here? Okay. Now threatening mate, obviously. And the rook. So Arya claims that there's no mate on white. My initial thought would be, again, queen to f1, king here, and then go queen to f6. Just getting things out of here. Just getting the pawns off. But the difference in this position is that white can take on h5 afterwards in some lines if you don't take the knight or if the knight gets kicked out. Then white has the connected pass pawns. So I think that's the difference. Maybe after queen here, Arya is going to play rook to g2 instead. Then the mate threat is maintained. And to be frank, there's no way to defend it because you go here and there's that. So queen to h6 is played. That's beyond mine. That's a good move. I didn't see that move. I thought white was losing. The bishop is hanging. My immediate move would be rook e6. Ben lost to Namin, but that's okay. Rook e6. And there is some queen g7, maybe? Queen g7. Oh, you're just going for an attack because there's no discovered attacks. So what if queen here, you could just go rook back. And the issue is that you can't really make forward progress. And now you can repeat moves here. And Arya maybe just taking the draw. And yeah, she just takes the draw, trying to get on the board. Very complicated position. Let's look at Ben's game. Was it a loss by tactic or Italian? h8. Whoa. Oh, attacked another knight here. Yeah, so now white's just up a pawn. And black's pawn structure is very strange. Also, king is exposed. And this does not look good for Ben. Oh my god. How many pawns did he just take there? It's like a gobble fest. And then, yeah, Ben just throws in the towel because, you know, wherever the king goes, the rook is coming in, the bishop's coming off, and white just has too many pawns. So the last game is Alex versus this guy. Did Luke lose that game? Yeah, Luke lost the game. Alex looking for GG looking for draws because that wins them the game. Alex declining. This is a knight versus two bishops end game. Obviously looks pretty drawish now, but pawns on both sides of the board probably prefers black slightly. Kings are about equal. Knight on b2 is a little weird, to be completely frank. But it's not like white or black is doing anything here. I don't see how much forward progress is being made. So there is a change in the pawn structure. The black bishop really has complete autonomy here. All of the white pawns are fixed. And now it seems like there's just going to be a shuffle of pieces, and there's a position. So at the end of the day, it was 5-11. So very strong performance by UNC. I'm pained to say that, but it's good games overall, and I hope you enjoy.